Hey, everybody. My name is David. I'm Director of Growth here at Kixie. Kixie is a voice and SMS automation platform that integrates with HubSpot. And I'm here today to talk to you about how to turn HubSpot into the ultimate sales machine. We're going to do that in 5 parts. We're going to talk first about how to not be afraid of your leads anymore and get the most out of them. We're going to talk to you about how to basically take advantage of a second sales team you guys didn't even know you have, but you're already paying for. We're going to talk about making your communication more synchronous. We're going to talk to you about basically speed to lead and how to increase the efficacy of that. And we're going to talk to you guys about basically letting HubSpot do a lot of the busy work of your sales team for them. Now, the first point is about not being afraid of your leads. All the time, I would say multiple times a week, I talk to a customer who has an awesome sales team and they've got a good sales process. And yet, the very beginning of their sales process in large part depends on them basically dialing out of spreadsheets the prospects that they have. I get the hesitation. Most people are afraid of basically taking all of these leads that they're getting from various sources. Maybe they're butt purchasing the leads, maybe they're getting them organically. They're all falling into an Excel spreadsheet or Google spreadsheet. And basically you're loath to take that spreadsheet of all those leads that are unqualified and migrate them into HubSpot and muck up your guys' HubSpot. Basically, fill it with unqualified leads that make it hard to discern who are the qualified leads that your reps really want to be speaking to. Well, I'm here today to tell you that not only is that fear unfounded, it's actually damaging. What we're going to actually talk to you about is how to basically take those leads and migrate them into HubSpot. We're going to do that using filters. And you'll see right here, we have a list of leads, right? These are a variety of leads, some of which are qualified, some of which are unqualified. It's a mess, and your sales reps hate looking at it, and they hate having to pick through it to get to the best leads. Well, all they have to do is create a filter right within HubSpot. And what that filter is going to let them do is very quickly navigate and see only the leads who they really want to be contacting at a time when they want to be contacting them. By clicking on that quick filter, all of a sudden they're presented with only the leads that meet a certain set of criteria that let them easily parse out the leads they want to contact from those they don't. Now, why is this important? Why am I haranguing you guys about changing a process you guys have already had in place for some time? Well, you guys have an awesome CRM. And this CRM captures a ton of information about these leads, right? How they get into your funnel, what the different characteristics of the leads are, what separates a good lead from a bad lead, all this data. And yet what you're doing by only importing the leads that are qualified into HubSpot is you're losing all this important data about the leads that don't make it, right? Not only does this really hamper your ability to make strategic decisions about what kind of leads to purchase, about what kind of leads to pursue, about maybe different A/B testing you could be using for some of these leads that might be more effective for some than others. What you're also doing is you're failing to subject those leads to all the following steps that I'm about to lay out to you. And most importantly, you're not allowing your second sales team to engage with those leads. Now, what is the second sales team? You heard me talk about it before. Well, think of the first sales team as the sales team you know and love, right? It's all the reps you have that you clock in every morning, that they're making calls to prospects, they're closing deals, they're moving deals through your pipeline. Each of them are logging into HubSpot with their own individual login, and they're pursuing deals within that CRM. Great. What you don't know is if there's a whole second sales team that really is those reps' HubSpot logins themselves. And those HubSpot logins right now, they're just serving as a portal, right? They're just serving as basically a barrier to entry for that rep to log in and get an aggregation of all the communication they've had with prospects over time within one place inside the HubSpot. It's great at that, but it's also great at doing a whole second set of things that it's not being tasked with doing, and it should be tasked with doing. And namely, what I'm talking about here is text messaging and emailing. Emailing, you guys probably know pretty well already, right? You guys are probably already familiar with how to email leads as they enter your funnel, how to run campaigns, all that good stuff. I'm guessing you aren't doing that with text messaging, and you should be. And I can hear a lot of you say, well, look, I'm B2B, right? What does a mobile phone mean to me? I'll tell you what, not only are people a lot of times using mobile phone numbers to sign up for trials of things, and they're somehow falling into lead lists as with their mobile phone set as their phone number, but also more and more people are adopting VoIP solutions like Kixie, like others, that accept SMS. And so what you're doing is you're basically abdicating an entire realm of communication by not focusing on that as well as email. As soon as the lead enters your funnel, what it should be subjected to is a workflow automation like the one we're looking at right now. When you see a new lead get created, what I'd like to see is not only an email being sent out to that person, but more importantly, I'd like to see a text message being sent out to that person right away. As you can see right here, as a new lead is created within HubSpot, it can set off that very workflow automation and result in an automatic text message right out to that lead as soon as they enter your funnel. Now, this doesn't have to end there. This could be a whole cadence of text message communication that could reply to text message it receives, that could be sent out at regular intervals, depending on the level of communication that's happened between that prospect and your sales team, or the lack of communication, more likely. It might result in more frequent text messages or different text message content in the same way you've been doing with email. And the reason we're going to do that is because this doesn't take any input from your first sales team, right? Your regular sales team can be doing the same thing they've been doing every day, which is pursuing leads in the same manner they've been pursuing them. All this is doing is taking advantage of a seat on HubSpot that you're already paying for that could be doing a whole second parallel process of sales work that's happening at the same time your reps are pursuing their process of sales work, right? We're going to let the second sales team do a lot of that work for them and try and re-engage, especially those leads that we're now bringing into HubSpot that we used to leave inside that spreadsheet. Well, now that all those prospects that remain virtually untouched or unconnected with by your normal sales team can be engaged with by the second sales team. And beyond just email and text message, you can also start automating calls, which really bring us to our third point, which is asynchronous and synchronous communication. Now, most of you in your personal life probably use text message more than you do phone call. And what are the reasons for that? Well, I'll tell you one of the big reasons for that, and that is that text messaging, unlike calling somebody, is asynchronous. And when I say asynchronous, what I mean is I can text somebody at a time that's convenient for me. They can read that text at a time that's convenient for them, and then respond at a time that's convenient for them. That's what I mean by asynchronous. Phone calls, on the other hand, are nothing like that, right? I call somebody at a time that's convenient for me when I'm thinking about a certain subject. And what I'm imposing on that person is now that person is required to not only consent to a certain unspecified period of time that my conversation is going to take up, but also they're basically changing their headspace, right? They're not thinking about at all what I'm about to talk to them about, and they're being expected to all of a sudden shift their focus and talk to them about the very subject that I'm about to bring up. Those are two things that are super important when you're doing outreach, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with them: timing and headspace. And those variables determine not only whether a call is going to go well or poorly, but also whether someone answers a call at all. But luckily, we talked earlier about the fact that once those leads are in HubSpot, we get a bunch of information about them. Now, for most sales teams, they get all this information, right? They know when a lead comes into the funnel. They know when a lead has visited their website before. They know if a lead's opened their emails, if they've responded to an email, if they've clicked on a link within that email, if they've been assigned to a rep. You know all this information about your leads. And what are most people doing with that information? Nothing. Most people are just dialing those leads at random and hoping that a person is free at 2 p.m. on a Thursday to take your call. And if they don't answer your call, what do? You call them again at another time and hope they happen to be free then. Maybe shoot them an email. We're going to switch that up. What we're going to do is we're going to leverage all of that information we're getting about these leads, and we're going to use it to dial people intelligently. We're going to auto dial people at times when they are most likely to have those two variables where you want them, at times when they're most likely to be available to take a call and most likely to be thinking about the very subject matter that you're going to be calling them about. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by, in this case, creating workflow automation once again. Only this workflow automation is going to actually trigger a call based on an email open. So you send out marketing emails all the time. You send out sales emails all the time. And one of the cool things about HubSpot is it's got email tracking built right in. So you know when someone's opened an email or not, if they've clicked on a link within that email or not. But what if when they open that email, we can trigger an automatic call to go out to them as soon as they have eyes on that email? What we're going to do is set up a workflow automation. You can see right here, we've sent out an email to that person. And as soon as that email gets opened, it can trigger a workflow automation. And that workflow automation can push an automatic call to go out to that person as soon as that email is opened. Boom, placing your rep on a call with that person at a time when those two variables are correct, timing and headspace, right? Now, this is an email open. We can base this off of lead scoring just as easily. I don't know if all of you have messed around with lead scoring much in HubSpot. It's an awesome feature. You could think of lead scoring as this. Lead scoring is essentially an aggregate of all those different disparate little pieces of information I covered earlier. Things like how often you visited your website, how often they've opened an email, if they've clicked on a link within that email. But what lead scoring does in simple terms is it really lets you weight each of those different activities, aggregate them into a single data point, and then we can leverage that to automate calls or text messages, like I mentioned earlier, off of that instead. But for right now, just know that the goal in general of your guys' outbound telephony communication really should be one that's strategically automated based off of information that you glean within your CRM. And the goal of all of that, I know it sounds like a very complicated kind of word scramble, but the real goal is to make your calling more like your texting. Make it something that a person is willing to answer and in the right headspace to answer and have a good communication because of. Now, the third thing I want to cover today, or fourth thing actually, is going to be speed to lead. Now, all of you are familiar with the speed to lead, right? And if you aren't familiar with the speed to lead paradigm, it's the idea that a lot of times the leads come into your funnel and the speed at which you contact those leads is paramount, right? This could be for a variety of different reasons. Maybe you're competing with these leads, against other competitors who are also trying to sell the same person the same thing. Or maybe it's just that in general, people are more receptive to a call or outreach at the very time when they filled out a form or signed up for a demo or signed up for a free trial, that kind of thing. Well, normally what you're asking of your reps is something sort of tricky. What you're really asking your reps to do is look straight ahead and focus on all the things they have to do that day. Come into the office, focus on maybe their task queues in HubSpot if you use those, what their assignments are, what their booked demos are, what their scheduled calls are, responding to new emails that come in, responding to new text messages that come in, all that stuff. But at the same time they're doing that, you're asking your reps to do something else that's much more difficult. You ask them to look ahead, but also have their eye over their shoulder for new leads coming in, right? Because when a new lead comes into the funnel, you expect them to basically stop what they're doing, notice the lead is coming to their funnel, and divert attention to it instead. Well, what you're going to find more often than not is that reps don't notice the new lead is coming to the funnel until it's too late. Or if they do notice the new lead is coming to the funnel and they're on top of it, it's because they're not looking forward enough and they're not on top of their scheduled tasks. We're going to take that out of their list of things to do, and we're going to let HubSpot do that for them. HubSpot's an awesome sales machine. It can notice new leads when they come into your funnel, so your reps don't have to worry about it. How we're going to do that is much of the same thing we just covered earlier in terms of automating a call based off of something like an email open. But in this case, we're going to actually automate it based off of a new lead coming into your funnel and being assigned to a particular rep. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to very quickly and easily create a brand new contact. And as that contact is created, an automatic phone call is going to go out to that contact as soon as the lead comes into your funnel. Boom. And we did that through that same workflow automation we did earlier that was triggering a call based off of an email open. Only in this case, we're going to trigger that automatic call to be because of a new lead is generated or a new lead is assigned to a contact owner. And the cool thing about these automatic calls is they can originate either from, let's say, a group that's engaging with the lead or from a particular contact owner themselves who's engaging with that lead. And that way, what your reps can do is just focus on what they need to do every day and the tasks they have in front of them without having to look over their shoulder all the time for new leads coming in. Now, the fifth thing I wanted to cover today is really about housekeeping. Now, I know this is a call about sales. It's a call about HubSpot. Why is David talking about housekeeping? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you're asking your salespeople to do way too much of it. When your sales reps engage with a contact, they maybe make a call, they finish the call, and they decide, oh, hey, this was a great conversation. The person is interested in moving forward. Let me go ahead and send that follow-up email. Let me go ahead and, maybe make sure to move that deal in my pipeline. Oh, let me assign that deal to the agent who's going to be closing that deal after I've set the appointment. Oh, that's right. Let me send a follow-up email thanking the person for the call. Oh, and I need to send a follow-up reminder to call that person back in a week so I don't forget. Well, by the time they've done all of that, they could have made 4 or 5 new calls, right? Instead, let's automate all of that. HubSpot is more than capable of taking care of all that housekeeping for your reps so they don't have to be spending most of their valuable day doing it. All we have to do to do that is return once again to those workflow automations. Only this time, we're going to trigger them off of something very different. We're going to trigger them off of something called outcomes and call types. Now, a number of you guys may have noticed this either with an integrated phone system you have, like Kixie, or through HubSpot's native dialer. But at the end of calls, you get a chance to mark an outcome to a call or mark a call type. Well, this is important for 2 reasons, one of which you're probably familiar with, and that is logging notes. So anything you type in here underneath the outcome is going to also be saved as a note in HubSpot so that you have some idea of how that call went when you go back and look at the contact page. But it's important for a whole second reason you probably haven't been taking advantage of, and that is that these call types and outcomes can be used as a trigger for workflow automations right in HubSpot. And what those workflow automations can do is all that housekeeping work so that all your rep has to do is make a call, connect with a prospect, and then decide how that call went, select an appropriate call outcome or call type that you've already set up within HubSpot. And then HubSpot can do all that stuff for them. It can send the follow-up email. It can set the reminder to call them back. It can send a follow-up text message the next day. It can assign that prospect to a new rep to close the deal. It can even go ahead and set a calendar reminder to call that person back if the deal hasn't closed in a week. All of that from one outcome. And to do that, it's really easy. All you have to do is go into HubSpot and go ahead and go into your settings, and you can go in and define outcomes and types within HubSpot that will then be mirrored in your dialer, and then go ahead and select those that are commensurate with how the call went. So your reps don't have to worry about that kind of thing themselves. And the great thing about this, not only does it save them a ton of time, but it makes training reps really easy. Because now not only are you not having to train your rep, okay, make sure you go in here, remember to do this after a call. Remember to do that after a call. All you have to teach them how to do is log the appropriate outcome, and they can move right on to the next call. So just to recap, you have already purchased an awesome sales machine, HubSpot. And all you have to do to turn it into that sales machine that it was meant to be is 5 things. We need to make sure that all those leads that come in, they go into HubSpot, that you're not living out of your Excel spreadsheets, that you're not dialing out of Google spreadsheets, that you have all those leads loaded into HubSpot and ready to go. And what are the reasons for that? Well, the reasons are not only to glean extra information about the leads, but also to subject them to all the other tools that your sales machine has access to. Second, we're going to make sure that that second sales team is being taken advantage of. Basically, that your agent's HubSpot logins are being used to their full potential. And that means that we're going to let HubSpot do the hard work of texting and emailing those new leads for you, especially the prospects that your leads aren't able to connect with. Third, we're going to make sure that your communication is as synchronous as possible. We're going to make your calling more like your texting, and that we're going to automate it based off of key events within HubSpot that let you know that those 2 variables are correct, that the prospect is likely being called at a time when they're willing to answer a call, and that they're in a headspace where that call is going to go well. Fourth, we're going to make sure that speed lead is something that HubSpot can help your reps with, so that your reps aren't being asked to look ahead and do all of their daily tasks, while also being tasked with looking behind their back to make sure that no new leads are coming in. We're going to let HubSpot automatically dial your leads through an integrated phone solution like Kixie or many others to reach out to that prospect as soon as that lead comes in the funnel, so that your reps are the first one on the phone with them. And then fifth, we're going to let HubSpot do your housekeeping, right? We're going to let your sales team do the things they are great at: closing deals, booking appointments, managing their pipeline, and take off of their plate the things that they're not so good at: sending follow-up reminders, moving deals in their pipeline after a call, sending follow-up text messages. We're going to automate all of it through call outcomes and call types. Thanks so much for your time today, guys. My name's David. My email is david@kixie.com. Feel free to reach out either via email, or we'll be taking questions after this presentation. I'd love to talk to people about what your sales approach is, find out how we can help. or answer any questions you have in general about how to get the most out of HubSpot and turn it into the ultimate sales machine. Thanks so much.